What is going on, guys? We are back here today on Showdown, and today I got a vid I'm pretty excited to post. Something that I knew I was going to do since the day the game dropped and I saw this Pokemon. We're going to be discussing Miraidon, one of the strongest Pokemon ever. And I'm going to tell you all right now, no clickbait, no nothing. This is the strongest Pokemon ever invented. I'm serious. And I'm going to break it down for y'all in this video as to why I believe this. I'm going to go over its sets, go over this Pokemon's ability, moves, all that stuff. And I'm basically going to show you why this is the best mon they ever made and nothing can compare to this thing. There are a lot of strong Pokemon, right? I made a video 3 years ago when Generation 8 came out, and it was called Why Zacian is Better Than Mega Rayquaza. Because up until then, Mega Rayquaza was the strongest Pokemon we'd ever seen. This mon was so strong that they had to make their own tier for it, right? Anything goes. Then Zacian came around. Bro could put that sword between his teeth, get +1 attack every time he came in, and he was the new big dog on the block. Literally, it was the strongest thing we'd ever seen. Zacian up to anything goes as well. Now we're in Generation 9. Miraidon is here, folks. And this guy is an absolute juggernaut of a Pokemon. Amazing design, amazing typing, amazing, like this Pokemon, there's nothing else to say besides flawless. And we're going to break it down right now. So if you do enjoy these types of videos, guys, make sure you do leave a like. I'm trying to get 2K likes by tomorrow on this vid, so make sure you do that. And let me know in the comments below what you think after you watch the video, and let me know what other type of discussion vids you want to see. So with that, let's get right into it. So we have Miraidon, guys. Electric Dragon type. We've seen this before on Zekrom, except this one is going to be special oriented, unlike Zekrom is usually physical attacker, mixed, whatnot. So, looking at Miraidon's stats right off the bat, we see that his stats are pretty cracked, right? 135 special attack, 135 speed, can't ask for more. That's the Flutter main offensive stats. HP, defense, SPDF, 100, 100, 115. This is tanky enough. Definitely, this is definitely solid. I like this defenses a lot. I mean, in Ubers, it gets the job done, right? You see Pokemon like Palkia, Dialga. I believe Palkia is the same. 90, 100, 120, right? So it's definitely not that different from 100, 100, 115. Now, when I use Miraidon, I usually go with Scarf or Specs. I find that those are where I get the most mileage out of. This thing is very strong with its moves. Electro Drift, base 100 power. Draco, 130. Volt Switch, just a good pivot move. And then for some reason, they were like, what is Electric and Draco not able to hit hard enough? You know, them steals, them grass types. Let's give bro Overheat because that makes a lot of sense. So they gave this thing a perfect coverage move in Overheat too, which is hilarious. So personally, I like running Scarf and Specs. I'm going to tell you exactly why. We're going to have to break down this ability, Hadron Engine. This is the most hilarious ability ever. On switching, it summons electric terrain, and then also your special attack is boosted by 30% in the electric terrain. So every time Miraidon comes in, it gets a 1.3x boost to its special attack, meaning this thing does not come in at 369 special attack. He comes in at 479 special attack, which is out of this world. When we look back at Generation 8 and we think of the strongest Pokemon we used to deal with, at least when I played OU, strongest Pokemon I would deal with is Kartana, 461 attack. Huge threat, very hard to beat on the defensive side. When you look at its moves, Leaf Blade, Knockoff, Smart Strike, Sacred Sword, these cap at 90 base power. Look at Miraidon. You got Electro Drift, 100 base power, God forbid it's super effective where it's 130. Draco Meteor, 130. Overheat, 130. Volt Switch, pivot move. This guy's moves are so damn strong. No, obviously, you want to spam all these moves. Like, these are some of the best no drawback moves you could ask for. Hadron Engine, 1.3x, like I said. Pull up with the 479 special attack, and then you have the electric terrain to boot. So when you add all those multipliers together, you know what you get? Miraidon is 1.69x stronger when using electric type moves. So it already comes in at 479 special attack, but when you add the electric terrain boost as well, it's basically like all of his electric type moves are 69% stronger, meaning Electro Drift is actually 169 power. Volt Switch, again, this shit, I don't know, what is 70 times? It's about like 120, 118, 120, like outrageously strong. And again, this is Scarf, not Specs. This is the Scarf set. You run Specs, this thing comes in and it will actually just one-hit KO everything. Max HP Arceus, for example, can get obliterated by a Parabolic Charge, a Draco, whatnot. Like this thing, it really doesn't have switch-ins for the most part. I really don't think this thing can really be defensively checked whatsoever. Max HP Arceus takes 82 to 96 from a Specs Draco. 0 HP Arceus takes 95 to 112. And this is like the gold standard of defense. You know what I mean? 120, 120, 120. This is like the gold standard. And this thing is able to OHKO Arceus with a neutral move with just a Specs boost. You got to understand like how ridiculously powerful it is. Nothing OHKOs Arceus with a neutral move. Nothing. Like literally nothing can do it. So to see that, like Zacian couldn't do that. Mega Rayquaza couldn't come in with the what's the word? The Flying Ascent or whatever the move is called, Dragon Ascent. It couldn't do that shit. It could not one-hit KO this mon. Now we got a neutral attack that is capable of one-hit KOing Arceus. You guys gotta understand how strong that is. Like, this didn't exist before. Not to mention, I'm gonna show you one calc which is gonna blow your mind. Somebody showed me a very hilarious calc. If you were to take Miraidon and you had Specs and you turned a bro into a fire type, alright? And you had Specs, and then you also had Miraidon. Alright, so obviously a lot of things gotta be going your way. But if you had Specs, you were Terra Fire, and Miraidon also got the sun up for you, you know how much overheat does to Groudon? 252 HP, 200 SpDef EV Groudon Primal, aka it resists fire. It does 70 to 83% with the resisted move. Assuming you turn into a fire type, of course. I'm just trying to help you understand this thing's damage output does not make sense. Like this mon is capable of frying Chansey. Like, this hasn't existed before. Not to mention that it has Volt Switch, right? So you can get out on any type of, like, if Chansey wants to come in the first time, just Volt Switch. So Specs and Scarf are my two favorite sets, but I do have to give a big shout out to Calm Mind, Agility, which is something I like. I have seen people run Calm Mind Taunt too. Agility is just something I threw on there because I figured it could work. Because I don't really want to run other stab moves or besides my stab moves. Parabolic Charge, 65 base power, 32 PP, and it recovers 50% of the damage dealt. This is an awesome move. This is truly an awesome move. Turns this thing into a beast. I just put Terra type Draco because we're using Pulse, but there's actually a lot of Terra types you can go with this. I saw somebody mention Fairy, and then they also had Dazzling Gleam, which I thought was sick because you're able to, you know, wall other dragons that way. And Dazzling Gleam is amazing coverage where there's so many dragons, dark types, all that shit. So yeah, I do think this set deserves a special shout out. You can also use Boots. Like I said, Taunt, the speed is incredible. Going through Miraidon though, if we just look at all the positive aspects of this thing, there's just too many to count, right? Dragon Electric is already two of the best offensive typings. These things are able to cover everything. Electric hits most of the steel stuff. Dragon, you know, is able to cover everything else. And then Overheat is there for random ass shit. Like, what's his name? Iron Shreds, the steel ground type, who in reality would be able to take both of these moves. No, sir. This Overheat isn't coming. This Overheat isn't coming. I also like that Miraidon can change into either of its typings as the Terraform. I think that's its best way to go. Pull off the super strong Drake, the super strong Electro, really doesn't matter. And the one last thing I wanted to talk about Miraidon before I moved on. Because of the ability, and this is something we haven't even had a chance to really experiment with an OU, because we don't really have any good electric terrain setters. We only have Pincurchin. This thing still sets up the terrain, meaning you can run any of the Cork Drive guys with this in Ubers. Now, I think specifically the GOAT Iron Valiant is probably amazing in Ubers as a result of this, because you automatically get the +1 speed, you can run whatever item you want. How can Fairy type ever be bad in Ubers when there's so many damn dragons? So I think when Pokemon Home comes out and all the Ubers come back, Iron Valiant x Miraidon will be the core. Like, I mean, I'm sure they're already using it right now. Why wouldn't you? But I think together these two make crazy good mind games, especially because Iron Valiant can cover a lot of the weaknesses. Like, you can bring this thing in on a Draco, you can bring him in on Sucker Punch, stuff like that. I think these two together have like an amazing synergy. We'll probably see this core quite a bit. But yeah, that's basically what I got to say about Miraidon. This thing, strength-wise, typing-wise, this thing does not have switch-ins, and it is the best mon in the tier right now, I think. So with that, let's talk about my boy, the dog. So for Zacian, we're going to go over two potential sets. You could run SD, and you can run 4 attack. Now, in Generation 8, they used to run Assurance because Necrozma Duskmane was mainly the best switch-in for this guy. Necrozma Duskmane does really own this thing. But we gotta talk about the biggest issue with Zacian in the new generation. Intrepid Sword has been nerfed. Now, last generation, especially in VGC we would see this, Zacian would come in and keep on getting his +1. This only works once per battle now, meaning Zacian comes in one time, gets +1, and then it has no ability for the remainder of the game. That's a big deal. On top of that, Zacian's attack stat used to be 170. He's been knocked down 20 points to 150. So this is the spread that they had on Smogon's site. I did also just put a regular max attack, max speed. But a -20 attack to Zacian is absolutely crazy. Like, that's a big amount of like stats to take away, right? This shit was nearing like 480 attack. Shit lost like damn near 50 points. Like, it's crazy. So they really did knock Zacian down a few pegs. I understand too, this thing was on every team in VGC and it was banned from Anything Goes. They're probably like, fuck, what have we done? We created a monster. Then they go on to make Miraidon. Anyway, I digress. So we look at Zacian, and I want to talk about some of the problems it has in the current metagame, right? Now, a lot of the Ubers haven't come back. But when Home comes out and all these things do come back, I'm talking Ho-Oh shit like that, Zacian has to decide what it wants to get walled by, right? You have to run close combat because you got to figure out a way to get through steals. But then if Necrozma Duskmane comes back, how are you going to kill that shit without Assurance? Not to mention, he doesn't get +1 anymore. Zacian is going to start getting walled by Pokemon as a result of this. Like, its item is useless, its ability is... Bro, what is he going to... Like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Bro is really screwed up. They took away 2 of his best things. Not to mention, they gave him the -20 attack. At Game Freak headquarters, I know what happened. Somebody got 6-0'd by Zacian on the ladder and said, this will never happen next generation. Let me show you what I'm cooking. And that was that. I also got to say that Zacian doesn't really support its team the way Miraidon does. Zacian supports it another way by being fast, which I totally do agree with. 148 speed is disgustingly fast. Basically faster than everything else in the meta, right? Besides like Deoxys or whatever. And Fairy Steel is also one of the absolute best defensive typings of all time. We've seen it on Mega Mawile, right? Magearna. What are those Pokemon? They're uber quality mons, just like Zacian was. Like, Fairy Steel will always be one of the best defensively. I do think, though, he sometimes has move slot syndrome. Another mon that is now going to start being able to switch into this thing, which I haven't seen in Ubers yet, is this guy. How is Zacian killing him? You're going to have Assurance, you're going to have Crunch, you got to have one of them. So then if you don't have that, what are you going to run? You're not going to run Swords Dance? But then if you don't run Wild Charge, how are you going to hit Ho-Oh? Right? Now you start seeing what I mean, right? How is Zacian supposed to get through all these Pokemon? On top of that, items fucked, abilities fucked after the first try. Bro, he has taken some blows. The Zacian clan will not forget this, Game Freak. But yeah, Zacian really got washed in the new generation. Like, they really took a lot of his toys. The -20 attack was just the biggest slap. Well, no, the ability nerf was the biggest slap. Because it's like, no, like, you deal with the fact that you have to use the Rusted Sword item because you get a +1 attack every time you come in. The combination of the item and ability are broken. Now Game Freak said, actually, let's fuck up both. So Rusted Sword is useless after the first try. Same with Intrepid Sword. This thing's stats are still gorgeous. But again, he has completely lost his ability to support the team, even support himself. And so for that reason, I can't really recommend Zacian over a mon like Miraidon. I would even say Koraidon's better than Zacian too. But for this video, that's focused on Miraidon, because Miraidon is the strongest mon ever. This is the strongest mon ever. I truly do believe that. We're going to see where the metagame goes. We're going to see if they can start adapting to this. But the way I see it, I have never seen a mon this strong. And I'm very excited to see where the metagame goes. Hope y'all enjoyed. Drop a big like if you did. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know, was I gassing up Miraidon too much? Is he really that guy? But I really do think that this is the best mon ever. I really do. So let me know. Peace.